Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Attorney-General. Attorney-General, you've been forced to pull your dodgy anti-discrimination bill after telling Christian school sector and other key stakeholders it would be passing in Parliament this week. Minister, it is clear that you haven't done the work and you have failed to consult adequately on this bill. Your incompetence has caused concern and anger amongst many Territory key stakeholders and breached their trust. Minister, why did you not consult properly with stakeholders? Which stakeholders have expressed concerns about your shonky work? And when will the Northern Territory Parliament see the amended version of your ill-conceived bill?
Attorney-General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Leader of the Opposition for this question. And like I said in my speech before lunch, we have a really full agenda this sitting, like as the Leader of Government Business has said. And so we are working through that agenda, and it's very interesting because you can never win with this opposition, Madam Speaker, because when we are pushing ahead with our agenda, which we promised Territorians at the election, they're saying that we're ramming things through too fast. And yet when we slow things down, because we're not too proud to consult with the community and hear what they've got to say on really important legislation, then they're attacking us for that as well, the mudslinging. So, Madam Speaker, I make no apologies for allowing the bill that I introduced in July to sit on the notice paper for a bit longer, and however long it takes, so that I can be out consulting widely across the Territory with all of the stakeholders who continue to write to me about how they feel about this legislation. So I'm not going to stand here and play politics with a really important issue. I know the opposition likes to do that. We watched them do that for 8 long years under Labor, and I'm not interested in that whatsoever. I'm putting forward important legislation, listening to Territorians about that to make sure that we can get it right, so that it's fair, so that it's clear, and that all Territorians can benefit from this. Because we live in a multicultural society, Madam Speaker. We love the Territory for that reason. And so we want to get this right. We do not stand for hate speech on this side of the chamber with this government. We have lots of different things happening in that space. We have the Standing Council of the Attorneys General from across every jurisdiction wanting to look at what's happening with hate speech across Australia. And here in the Northern Territory, we want to make sure that our multicultural community is alive and well and harmonious,
seat, please,
like it always
Minister.
has been.
What's your point of order, Opposition Leader?
Madam Speaker, Standing Order 110 around the conciseness of the answer. Part of the question, Attorney-General, was which stakeholders have expressed their concerns about the lack of work you've done.
Take your seat, please, Opposition Leader. Attorney-General, you have the call.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like the Leader of the Opposition to listen to my answer, because we're talking about how important this is to get it right. And so, unlike the Labor opposition who don't listen to Territorians, we had that for 8 years, I am listening to Territorians, and I want to sit down with as many people as possible,
please,
from all over the Territory, from all different groups that feel that they have something important to say about this bill. And so I will take that time. I make no apologies for doing that. And I will continue to listen to them so that we can come up with something that is fair, that is balanced, that is clear, so that all Territorians can continue to live in harmony, Madam Speaker. That's exactly what we want, because we don't stand for hate speech, we don't stand for discrimination, but we need protections there for all Territorians. And so I will continue that work, and I thank the Leader of the Opposition for the question.
Member for Drysdale, what is your question?
Madam Speaker, my question is for the Chief Minister. Chief Minister, at last year's election, Territorians spoke loud and clearly. They wanted change, real change, and they wanted it delivered quickly. We committed to bold action, and over the past 12 months, we've worked tirelessly to deliver that promise. Chief Minister, can you please update the House on the progress we've made to reduce crime, rebuild the economy, and restore the Territory lifestyle?
Chief Minister.
Thank you very much, Member for Drysdale, and as such an important part of our team, I thank you for the question. We have just marked our 12 months in government, and that's a time for all of us to reflect on where we started and where we are going. And it is It has been a significant 12 months where we have shepherded great reform through this parliament, where we have made change right across the Northern Territory, change for the better, as we promised Territorians we would deliver. And what we've done as a team has been very disciplined. We have focused continuously and meticulously on reducing crime, rebuilding the economy and restoring our lifestyle, because that is what Territorians asked us to do. That is the job they gave us. That is why there are 17 CLP members of Parliament sitting in this chamber, Madam Speaker, because we've been given a very deliberate, specific job. And that work started from day one. Within 8 weeks, we were in this parliament passing through several pieces of legislation on urgency to put the rights of people to be safe above the rights of offenders and back our police with the laws they needed to do their job. And not only that, Madam Speaker, but we have delivered in the last 12 months the strongest bail laws in the country for Territorians. We've lowered the age of criminal responsibility so we can intervene earlier in a young person's life. We've rolled out OC spray since yesterday, Madam Speaker, and we will be establishing the Police Public Safety Officer stream. We've given stronger powers to police on posting and boasting, ram raids, wanding, public nuisance drinking, mandatory sentencing, breach DVO, parole breaches, dangerous driving, a range of things, Madam Speakers. Power of entry. We've got 146 more police officers than we had 12 months ago, and that cumulatively has resulted in a reduction in the number of victims, and that's what's most important. When you look at the last 6 months compared to under Labor, there are 605 less Territorians who are a victim of crime, thanks to the hard work of our police and the work we've been doing to support a safer community. And so that 4.7% reduction in victims is just the beginning. We must do more. There is so much more work to do. On our economy, we've created the Territory Coordinator. We've accepted 60 out of 70 recommendations for the Approvals Fast Track Task Force. We've removed third-party merits reviews from the Petroleum Planning and Water Acts. We've got the most competitive payroll tax regime in the country, the best home build scheme in the country, Madam Speaker, and ComSec has said the Territory is the fastest growing population and economy in the country, Madam Speaker. So what we are doing is working, and we're backing that in with an important lifestyle piece. We've had T20 cricket, we've purchased Silkwood, so much more work to do, but we're on the right track.
Minister. Member for Daly, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Health. Territory pharmacists and pharmacy technicians are completely burnt out. Your government's response has been to spend money on lawyers to try and prevent pharmacists going on strike and employing dirty tactics like cutting pharmacists by 25% each day if they participate in strike action. Despite this appalling treatment, our pharmacists are turning up to work every single day. Minister, what are you doing to address this crisis across the Territory, and why won't you support our hard-working pharmacists who contribute so much to our community, and how much have you spent on lawyers to block pharmacists from going on strike?
Minister for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Daly for that question. Again, fronting up here and misleading the House again, Madam Speaker, suggesting that the Department of Health, our hard-working workers in the department, are docking people's wages for participating in industrial action. What he suggested this morning, Madam Speaker, and he said this, and I actually wrote it down because it was very important. He said that we are cutting their pay if pharmacists speak up. Now, none of that's true, Madam Speaker, because he knows, as well as I know, that,
Silence, please.
that people that don't turn up to work, their wages are being docked. It's got nothing to do with speaking up. If there's industrial action, then there's wages are docked for people that don't turn up to work. But the important thing here, Madam Speaker, is that the Office of the Commissioner of Public Employment is leading those negotiations, and I think the member for Daly is somewhat confused, thinking that the responsibility sits with the Minister for Health. But what I want to put on the record is that we support all pharmacists. Right across the board, we support all of our staff, and every time I come in here, I hear the opposition having a go at our hard-working pharmacists, our hard-working staff right across the board. So we're We're standing up for them. We're supporting all of the workers right across the health system, Madam Speaker. So all of those issues that around industrial action, OCP is considering all of that feedback from the relevant union as we speak, and those negotiations continue to be well and truly underway between the pharmacists, technicians, their unions, and our staff from OCPE. So let me assure you that all of those issues are well and truly under negotiation as I speak, and I may ask the Minister for Public Employment to perhaps give a bit of an update on where those negotiations are up to.
Minister for Public Employment.
Sorry, yes. Those negotiations, as the Minister has outlined, have commenced. They commenced on the 19th of February. In actual fact, they have an offer has gone to them. In actual fact, Madam Speaker, tomorrow the Commissioner will deliver an updated offer to the unions tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing what that...
Please take your seat, Minister. What's your point of order? Member for Daly.
The Minister answering part of the question, but there was one other part to the question, which was the last bit around
the cost of lawyers.
how much does it cost
please.
the government in lawyers?
The Minister has the call.
As the member for Berkeley has stated, there is no docking of the pharmacist's pay. The only docking of pay will actually happen if those pharmacists don't rock up to work. And as I said, the negotiations are still ongoing.
Take your seat, please, Minister. What's your point of order?
The question was around how much does it cost the government in lawyers.
We've got
She
that.
didn't
The
even
Minister has the
mention it.
call. She doesn't necessarily have to answer it the way you want her to. Minister, would you like to complete your answer?
With 4 seconds left to go on the clock, Madam Speaker, there will be an offer updated to the members tomorrow by the Commissioner. We continue to have these in good faith.
Member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Police Minister. Police Minister, within 24 hours of your OC spray trial starting, at least 4 prohibited persons have illegally purchased the product. What crimes have these 4 people previously committed to be prohibited from buying OC spray? And will you take responsibility if an innocent Territorian is assaulted with OC spray currently in the hands of a criminal?
Minister for Police and Chief Minister.
I was so very much hoping that someone on the other side would ask me a question about OC spray, Madam Speaker, and if you channel that energy hard enough, good things come your way, Madam Speaker. So I'm very, very grateful for the question by the member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍. And yesterday, and this has been something we've been talking about for months and months now, yesterday Territorians could legally purchase OC spray to use for self-defence. And we have our firearms dealers, there's 11 of them who've signed up to be able to sell the spray. They have been working with the government, working with the police. We've got a fantastic regulatory framework that we've been able to put in place to make sure that there is a well-regulated sale and trial of OC spray over the next 12 months. Now, in WA, they've had OC spray for a very, very long time, and they've had no dramas with it. And over there, you can buy it online, you can just get it. It's very, very easy. Whereas here, we've put some safeguards in place about who can and who can't purchase it. We've got, of course, the self-declaration, so people have to go to the firearms dealer, they have to make a declaration. That then can be checked by police in the background. In virtually real time, it's all on iPads, so we get that data relatively quickly, and that allows us to have those checks and balances. People are getting a fantastic flyer that goes with it to make sure that they understand self-defence and about the product, etc. And so things have been going well. And to, the member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍 has in fact reinforced in his very question to me that things are going well, because we have very, very quickly, police were able to ascertain that 4 people who should not have had it, filled out the stat deck, and police responded quickly, retrieved the OC spray, and 1 person's actually got a summons to appear in court. So we're acting very, very fast. That is not bad. That is not bad. Our men and women in blue are good, but I tell you what, They are fantastic when it comes to this. So it's been really great, and I take my hat off to our police. They've been doing a fantastic job, and there's a lot of people have been working on this rollout. And this is about giving people more options for self-defence. I think I said earlier, I was in Woolies late yesterday, and a lady, I was picking something off the shelf, I don't know, some biscuits or something for the kids, and a lady just walked past and said to me, "Thank you so much for giving us OC spray, thank you." And I turned around and said, "No worries, how'd you go?" She said, "I just got mine, it was fantastic." So she's thrilled, it's given her peace of mind. And at the end of the day, we hope no one ever has to use it. But you know what? It's there if they need it. And I would rather someone spray a perpetrator than end up in a hand-to-fist fight on the floor, fighting for their life. I'd rather they sprayed them from 3 or 4 metres and was able to get out of that environment. So you choose your side, member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍𝙎. We've chosen ours. The trial goes for 12 months and we'll see what happens after that.
Member for Karama, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Deputy Chief Minister. Minister, prior to the last election, we released a plan promising action to restore lifestyle, reduce crime and rebuild the economy. And I know that many residents in Karama, Malacanaki Lagoon welcomed our election 12 months ago, expressing an immediate increase in confidence and optimism in the Territory's future. Can the Deputy Chief Minister update the House on the progress made over the past 12 months?
Deputy Chief Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the member for Karama for the question, because I know he's a passionate Territorian and his son's a frontline paramedic out there day to day protecting us, looking after us. So thank you for bringing your family to the Territory. They're the sort of people we need to bring, Madam Speaker, because what we're going to do, we're going to restore the safety by having stronger correction system. We have record numbers for corrections officers, and we've made our facilities bigger and better. We're rebuilding the economy, Madam Speaker. We've got new mines who are going to support Territory families. We're going to have jobs into the Territory, and we're going to boost our lifestyle by improving biosecurity, strengthening animal welfare and opening new hunting opportunities. Madam Speaker, 1 year on from the election, and our government is getting the Territory back on track. With corrections, we inherited a mess. I've spoken about it many times, Madam Speaker. Overcrowding, programs that didn't work, police officers working hard, corrections officers working hard in facilities which weren't designed for that. We acted fast, Madam Speaker. We've got correctional officers out of watch houses. We've rolled out infrastructure. In fact, Madam Speaker, we've got 96 new beds in Alice Springs, 574 at Berrimah, and we've got a rolling recruitment program. We've got over 700 correctional officers now serving in the Northern Territory. We've injected $120 million into corrections. We've boosted rehabilitation programs. We've partnered with G4S, who now offer prisoner escorts and transfers. That keeps our existing correctional officers focused on what they do best, is behind the wire, keeping a prisoner safe, and, Madam Speaker, keeping their work colleagues safe, making sure that they go to work and they come home safely. Madam Speaker, we've also strengthened youth justice. We've removed detention as last resort to send a clear message, Madam Speaker, that there will be consequences. That's a word that those opposite never used the last 8 years, consequences. They just let that lapse. We, Madam Speaker, on this side are going to make sure and send a clear message that if you commit a crime, there's going to be a consequence for your act. Madam Speaker, we've turned mining into Tennant Creek for the first time in 20 years. The land of opportunity. The land of opportunity. 20 years, a new mine in Tennant Creek. Madam Speaker, we've granted leases for the Amaroo Phosphate Project to allow them to continue their mining activities in that area. We've backed Territory families who have expanded battery scheme, Madam Speaker, and soon gas from the Beetaloo will be flowing into their home to deliver royalties back into the Territory and deliver royalties to communities, regional communities, Madam Speaker, traditional owners out there in the bush to be able to live on community and have some money to be able to deal with as they move forward. Madam Speaker, the 28,000-hectare Wildman River Agricultural Hub is on its way. It's bigger, stronger than ever. We've opened new hunting reserves, Madam Speaker. We've put in rocks. We've boosted our chronic lifestyle. We've purchased Silkwood, Madam Speaker, because the Territory lifestyle is worth fighting for.
Member for Blaine, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Treasurer, this time last year, Territorians elected a country Liberal government following 8 long, painful years of Labor's financial mismanagement, economic decline and a worsening cost of living burden. The people of the Northern Territory sought stability, responsible economic management and a government committed to restoring confidence in our communities. They asked for safer streets, stronger opportunities for business and employment, and a renewed focus on protecting and enhancing the lifestyle we value so highly. Treasurer, could you please inform the House of the measures undertaken over the last 12 months to reduce crime, rebuild the economy and restore the Territory way of life? Thank you.
Treasurer, he will be heard without any interjections.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I thank the member for Blaine for this very, very important question. And I spoke about this in my speech earlier today. And over the past 12 months, this government has delivered strong, decisive action to restore confidence and to deliver for all Territorians after 8 years of Labor's mess and mismanagement. And who sits opposite us, Madam Speaker? The remnants of the failed Lawler government. An opposition not yet ready to accept their role they played in the disastrous social experiment of the last 8 years of the Labor government. An opposition from a failed government with their heads in the sand. And when we were elected, Madam Speaker, we faced a Territory in crisis, where crime was tolerated by Labor, the economy under their control was a national joke, and people were losing their faith in their future here in the Territory. We made it our mission, Madam Speaker, to reduce crime, rebuild our economy and restore our lifestyle. And the first cab off the rank, Madam Speaker, was restoring law and order. We delivered the toughest youth justice reforms in the Territory's history. We strengthened the bail laws and gave our hard-working police greater powers. We introduced minimum mandatory sentences for assaults on frontline workers. And we backed our words, Madam Speaker, with $1.5 billion in investment in law and order, the biggest investment in law and order, Madam Speaker, that the Territory has ever seen. And then got to work on an economy that was on life support and going nowhere, all thanks to Labor's mismanagement. We delivered the Rebuilding the Economy strategy, getting the economy back on track by cutting red tape and focusing on our strengths. This includes the most competitive payroll tax regime in the country and exempted apprentices and trainees, making the Territory the best place to do business. The results are clear, Madam Speaker. Thanks to the CLP, the cranes are back. Construction is booming and Territorians are once again confident in their future, something that they weren't under the previous Lawler Labor government. We've delivered the most generous housing grants in the country, Madam Speaker, with 200 new houses in the pipeline and counting. Our government is helping 200 families get into a home of their own that Labor couldn't deliver upon. Madam Speaker, we're proud of our $50,000 home grants and our Fresh Start $30,000 home grants. Madam Speaker, in our year of action, we are delivering action. We're delivering certainty and we're delivering security under a CLP government. Madam Speaker, after 12 months, we are well and truly reducing crime, rebuilding our economy and restoring the great Territory lifestyle.
Member for Arafura, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Parks and Wildlife. Minister, before the election, the CLP promised free park fees for locals and more park rangers. Since the election, there has been radio silence on both of these promises. Can you explain to Territorians why you have walked away from these commitments?
Minister for Parks and Wildlife.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for Arafura for the question, because on this side of the CLP government loves our parks and our wildlife. And that is why the first thing we did was ensure that we had parks and wildlife and tourism and hospitality all under the one ministry and the one area portfolio, because parks and wildlife is the reason why people love to come and spend time in the Territory, Madam Speaker. And so by being able to do all of the things together instead of these silos that Labor had created where no one talked to each other to get things done, we've actually managed to do a lot of work in the parks and wildlife space, because we love preserving our parks, but also making sure that for generations to come, our kids and our grandkids are going to be able to enjoy that. So let's not forget about one of the biggest things we were announced this year, Madam Speaker, and that was the purchase of Silkwood. 30,000 hectares right next to Litchfield National Park, which has so much space. It's pristine, it's rugged, it's got hunting opportunities, camping, swimming, waterfalls. That is a place that Territorians are already enjoying going out and spending their time. They take their four-wheel drives out there, Madam Speaker, and they just explore the wonders and natural beauty of the Northern Territory. So we absolutely back in our parks. We absolutely back in our tourists to be able to go out to those parks and visit those areas. We actually spent a lot of time in the first few months looking at all the things that Labor had failed to do in our national parks for a long time. Things like infrastructure, crocodile fences at Wongai that were broken, roads that were causing problems in our parks, making it unsafe for people to go there and swim. And so we will continue to do that work because we're very proud of our parks. We're very proud of the fact that tourism is thriving when it comes to being able to showcase those parks to the rest of the world. They are world class.
Take your seat, please, Minister. Member for Arafura, what's your point of order?
110 point of order. Just wanting to know when the park fees will be free.
Okay, take your seat. The Minister's got some time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so, Member for Arafura, through the Madam Speaker, we know that our parks need to be a place where people can go swimming and that they can access it as much as possible. But of course, we have our wet season, which is a lot of rain. And what happens at that time of year, Madam Speaker, is that the crocodiles are on the move. And so we want to make sure that it's really safe. And just the other week, I was out at Povey & Sons, which is a local business at Palmerston, who had built 10 croc traps, which are amazing technology that they have used to ensure that our parks and wildlife
Minister,
rangers...
take your seat. Member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔, what's your point of order?
110 relevance. The member for Arafura asked a very direct question. Okay. Your election promise was making park fees free.
Please,
when will you do it, or are you continuing to use this time because you are lying?
Please sit down. Please withdraw that. You're not going to withdraw?
I will withdraw that she's lied, but when will you be honest with Territorians that you're not making free?
Seat. Member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔, you are on a warning. Minister, continue. No more points of order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so what I was saying was that I went out to that business and I watched them roll out the crocodile trap. So our rangers who work for Parks and Wildlife can be out there to be able to ensure that the crocodiles are captured and make sure that those swimming holes are able to be accessed as much as possible. We know that there's a time in the wet season they can't.
Take your seat, please, Minister. Your time has expired. Member for Fanny Bay, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is also to the Attorney-General and the Minister for Tourism and Hospitality, Parks and Wildlife, Major Events and Racing. Attorney, the CLP government was elected with a clear mandate to turn the Territory around after years of Labor's neglect and reckless spending. Territorians wanted safer streets, stronger economic growth and a lifestyle worth defending. Over the past 12 months, you've held some of the biggest reform and some of the most diverse portfolios in government. From justice to crime reduction to rebuilding our tourism and events sector, expanding our parks and supporting racing. Can you update the House on what has been delivered in our first year and how you are providing action, certainty and security for Territorians into the year ahead?
Attorney-General, Minister for Tourism and Hospitality, Major Events, Parks and Wildlife and Racing.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and there's certainly a lot in there. And thank you, Member for Fanny Bay, for the question. I know your community of Territorians are loving seeing what we are doing so that we're on the right track for them. And Madam Speaker, this government was elected on a clear mandate to reduce crime, rebuild the economy and restore our lifestyle. And we've delivered action, certainty and security, not words, but real results. Territorians asked for safer streets, job security and a lifestyle worth defending, and we are delivering on that. 12 months on and the tide is turning. The Territory is back in business, but this is only the start. We know we have so much more work to do. And our year of action has laid the foundations with the year ahead that will keep the momentum going. So, Madam Speaker, we had the biggest law and order budget in the Territory's history at $1.5 billion, including $237 million for justice. That's $112 million more than what Labor had. We have now the strongest bail laws in Australia, and we have bail refusals up by 44%. Remand is up by 27%. That is over 3,300 bail refusals since January. We now have more sentenced prisoners than those on remand for the first time in a very long time. Our Tiger Task Force has now completed more than 350 remand cases, which reduces backlog and, of course, delivers faster justice. We have more judges, more prosecutors. We're expanding capacity, which is the highest and has now the highest local court finalisation rate in 5 years. Of course, we have new laws, mandatory sentencing, assaults on workers and police and DV offenders. We have ram raids, post and boast laws, holding youth and adult offenders accountable. We have a victims first approach, a 40% uplift in the victims levy, a $15 million package for support and counselling over the next 5 years, and we increased the baseline funding for legal aid by 80%. And we have a multi-year deal now making sure they have certainty so that victims can have justice. We've put victims first and we've taken back control of bail and are delivering justice, a justice system that backs the community and victims, not offenders. When it comes to rebuilding our economy and our lifestyle, we increased the tourism baseline funding to $8 million per year, the first boost in years. We integrated tourism events, racing and parks into the one streamlined visitor economy strategy. Of course, we have new aviation routes. We have a focus on military tourism and launched $3 million worth of investment in that space. We have Destination NT, Madam Speaker, and Stories from the Heart, local campaigns to drive real results. And of course, we have our biggest major events year for a very, very long time, including the T20 cricket that has been returned after 17 long years. And we'll keep working very hard at that, Madam Speaker.
Take your seat. Member for Daly, what's your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Treasurer, during the election campaign, the member for Karama, Brian O'Gallagher, promised residents $200,000 for the Holy Family Parish in Karama and $500,000 for a new playground in Malak sooner. Yet, in your first budget, there's no reference to either project. Treasurer, when will these commitments actually be delivered, or is this just another case of the CLP saying one thing before the election and backflipping once in government?
Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank my young friend, the member for Daly, for the question. I'm glad to see that he's so interested in Karama. There was a lot of commitments and a lot of discussions and a lot of ideas spoken about during the election. I know I made a few myself for my electorate, certainly in Central Australia. But when you look at the budget and the financial position that we inherited when coming into government, you can understand why not all promises can be made, the promises that may have been made or commitments that may have been given can be delivered straight away. Let's look at the $1.2 billion black hole left to us by Labor. We look at all the unfunded projects that they had on the budget books to hide the fact that they were going to breach their own debt ceiling. Projects and programs that were scheduled to go on for multiple years but were only funded year on year. And that was, of course, there was projects for health, domestic family violence, as well as road funding, community funding, and this stuff wasn't funded ongoing. They only funded it year on year, Madam Speaker. They weren't going to deliver it.
Stop the interjections, please.
But Brian, the member for Karama, Brian Gallagher, out there working hard for his community, because I can tell you now, Madam Speaker, the previous member for Karama was pretty absent in the community according to the people that I know out there. So Brian has been out there advocating for his community, the member for Karama.
Minister, just pause. Can you refer to members in the chamber by their title, please?
Sorry, slip of the tongue, Madam Speaker. The member for Karama is out there working hard for the members of his community, and he's advocating for the members of his community. And he comes to me, as the Treasurer and the Minister for Logistics and Infrastructure, and advocates for projects and programs like every other MLA in this chamber should be doing. So I listened to the member for Karama on the projects and programs that he wants to deliver. I don't turn a blind eye to them like those members opposite used to do, because they didn't particularly care, I don't think, about anything that wasn't in any of their electorates.
Take your seat, please, Treasurer. Opposition Leader, what's your point of order?
Standing Order 110, specifically a question around when will the playground, the $500,000 playground commitment, be delivered for Malac?
It was very specific, Treasurer. Could you?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'll continue with my input. And of course we'll deliver on our election commitments, Madam Speaker. We will deliver 100% on our election commitments. I'll continue to work with the member for Karama on his election commitments and the commitments that he gave to his community. I can't say I can deliver them next week. I can't say I can deliver them next month, but I can tell you, Madam Speaker, that we will deliver on them. The issue that I have is dealing with the black hole, those on the other side left with us, so that we can actually come up with the money to deliver on those commitments.
Member for Fong Lim, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education and Training. Minister, upon coming to government, it's been revealed that Labor may not have been entirely honest with their published school attendance figures. And we know, we believe in fact, that they may have underreported thousands, I repeat, thousands of kids not attending school. Minister, can you please update the House on what action the CLP government has taken a year into its government, particularly in your portfolio of education?
Minister for Education and Training.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Member for Fong Lim, for the question. So, Madam Speaker, this week marks the 1 year since the CLP government was elected, and in that time we have worked tirelessly to restore confidence, rebuilding the economy, strengthening community safety and clean up Labor's education mess, and election mess for that matter. Without safe classrooms, Madam Speaker, dedicated teachers and strong learning foundations, we cannot hope to address the root causes of crime or equip our young people for the jobs of the future. This is why education has been one of the priorities of our first year in government. Within 12 months, we have delivered substantial reforms. We've reinstated 46 school attendance officers to drive accountability and get those children back to school. In actual fact, Madam Speaker, more than 4,500 compliance visits have been done, and the result is 388 students are now back in the classroom and off Labor's hidden list. And we will not apologise for enforcing parental responsibility and accountability. We've launched the Boosting Literacy and Numeracy plan to roll out explicit teaching across the territory to get schools back to basics and improve literacy and numeracy levels. We've backed our teachers with the Keeping and Attracting Teachers strategy, and we know that retaining dedicated educators is critical, and we are supporting them through incentives, training pathways and practical classroom safety measures. One of those measures is the Wanding in Schools initiative because, Madam Speaker, we cannot expect to recruit and retain teachers if they do not feel safe in their workplace. We're also delivering reform in our secondary schools, creating clearer pathways to training, higher education and work. Recently at Casuarina Senior College, I was out there with some colleagues. We opened the CDU Trades Training Centre, equipping the young Territorians with skills that industries demand. But, Madam Speaker, education is not only about academics, it's about safety, wellbeing and life skills, which is why we've introduced the Swimming in Schools program, with more than 5,500 students across 51 schools already completing lessons and 73 more schools scheduled to participate by the end of the year. This is why we have invested in more. We've also invested in more school counsellors in the classrooms, not officers like the previous government, where we saw them coming out of the Mitchell Centre. This will ensure that our young people struggling with mental health challenges have support readily available at school. We continue the back-to-school vouchers for 41,448 students, easing the cost of living for families while supporting them with easing of the cost of living. And I'm proud to say that the Police in Schools program, which is rebuilding trust between police and young people, fostering respect and safety also in the school environment.
Member for Nicecliffe, what is your question?
Thank you. My question is for the Minister for Environment. Minister, yesterday Territorians found out that Santos has been leaking up to 184 kilograms of methane into our air every hour for almost 2 decades. The tank in question currently stands empty but is about to be refilled with Barossa gas from Australia's dirtiest gas reserve. This means that it will once again be releasing up to hundreds of kilograms of methane every hour into our air for the next 25 years. Minister, does your government deem that it is acceptable for Santos to continue to pollute and damage our air for decades into the future? And Minister, what is the point of any of our environmental regulations if they don't hold corporations like this to account, don't force them to fix their broken infrastructure, and then they can continue on polluting as business as usual?
Minister for Lands, Planning and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Nicecliffe for her question. There is a leak at the LNG tanks at the Santos Darwin LNG facility, and that has occurred when the tank was first commissioned, Madam Speaker, as has been mentioned, I think some 2 decades ago. A small amount of methane is lost to the atmosphere through a leak. Methane, for those who aren't familiar, is a non-toxic to humans or the environment. Cows burp and do fart it, Madam Speaker, and the concentrations that occur from the emissions from the facility. Methane is a greenhouse gas, and as such, methane emissions are regulated by the Australian Government's Clean Energy Regulator, referred to by many as a CER, Madam Speaker. The NT Government cooperates with the Clean Energy Regulator as required, but does not duplicate regulatory effort. Northern Territory Environment Protection Authority, the NT-EPA, Madam Speaker, regulates emissions of air toxins from the Santos Darwin LNG facility in Darwin Harbour under the Waste Management and Pollution Control Act. This is very important, Madam Speaker. During initial commissioning of the Darwin liquefied natural gas tank in 2006, Madam Speaker, a design fault resulted in a leak. At the time, the leak was reported to the NT-EPA. Very important, Madam Speaker, that when we find out, or when those proponents find out there's an issue, they report it to the NT-EPA, as well as NT WorkSafe, Madam Speaker. And after an independent investigation, the tank was cleared to remain in service, Madam Speaker. That's our authorities, our statutory authorities, our independent Northern Territory EPA, working through the processes that are in place, and it was cleared to remain in service. During the recent life extension project at the Darwin liquefied natural gas tank, integrity was reassessed, and the tank was found to be structurally safe for use until 2050, Madam Speaker. Again, very important that the structural integrity of that tank is deemed to be structurally safe. Due to the low environmental risks and high costs associated with fixing the leak, Santos, Madam Speaker, made the decision not to repair the tank. The leaking gas is composed of 99.3% methane, with traces of no other non-toxic gases. And I say again...
Please take your seat, Minister.
Yes,
Madam
Madam
Speaker. Point of order. Member for Nicecliffe.
Thank you. 110 relevance. So does your government deem that it's acceptable for them to continue to pollute for the next 25 years and not hold them to any account to fix their broken infrastructure?
You've asked your question. I do believe the minister's answering it. Please continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. It is this government that is ensuring that we are supporting organisations like the Northern Territory Environment Protection Agency that are ensuring that things are happening in a way that specifies under the Act. And in regards to referring this to the Clean Energy Regulator, a federal government authority, Madam Speaker, this is what it is all about. We are ensuring that these risks are being mitigated. The NT-EPA has notified the CER as the most appropriate regulator to deal with the greenhouse gas emissions, and is there under their legislation, Madam Speaker, whether they deem to do anything from here on out. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍, what is your question?
Madam Speaker, my question is also to the Minister for Land Planning and the Environment. Minister, can you please outline to the House key initiatives and legislative achievements delivered in the first year of government, in your first year as government, as the Minister for Land Planning and Environment, Minister for Digital and Corporate Development and the Minister for Water Resources?
Minister for Lands, Planning and Environment, Corporate and Digital Development and Water Resources.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼 for the question. Since taking office a year ago, we have demonstrated decisive and committed leadership and we are delivering for Territorians, Madam Speaker. We have undertaken significant legislative reforms to streamline processes, cut red tape and revitalise the Territory's economy. For years, Madam Speaker, key developments, key projects with the potential to supercharge our growth were stagnant. Third-party merits reviews were weaponised by individuals with no genuine stake in projects, disrupting progress without evidence or accountability. Our government has fixed this issue, Madam Speaker. The recent ComSec State of the States reports confirms that the Northern Territory is leading the nation in economic and population growth. This growth is driven by strong investment, increased construction activity, record housing approvals and a growing workforce. We are firmly on track to rebuild that economy, Madam Speaker. We're also securing our water resources, Madam Speaker, for the future by implementing the Mataranka and Western Devonport water allocation plans, protecting Aboriginal water reserves through crucial legislative amendments, and promoting responsible bore management via our Know Your Bore campaign. I know the member for Nelson likes to talk about hunting. Hunting and conservation are also supported. We have locked in waterfowl limits and season dates for 5 years, providing certainty for all involved. Our government is enhancing tourism, and the Tourism Minister has spoken about this with the historic $7.5 million acquisition of the Silkwood parcel of land near Litchfield, expanding recreational opportunities for Territorians and visitors alike. As a Minister for Corporate and Digital Development, I am committed to making government services more accessible and convenient. Territorians can now apply online for temporary traffic management cards, restricted motorbike licences, temporary vehicle licences, at any time that suits them, Madam Speaker. Over the past year, DCDD processed more than 29,000 online transactions, nearly tripling the previous year's total. We are piloting online bookings for motor vehicle registry appointments in Darwin, covering learner licence applications, interstate registration transfers and overseas licence transfers to save people time and hassle. How's that for halving approval processes, Leader of the Opposition? We have fulfilled our commitment to expand Telstra mobile coverage in Canteen Creek in the Barkly and enhance coverage in remote homelands, including Corella Creek and Emu Point. Madam Speaker, I could go on and on, but I'm going to run out of time. But what I will say is that after years of stalled development under the former government, we are delivering as a government. We'll continue to deliver for all Territorians, Madam Speaker.
Member for Johnston, what is your question? And you will be heard in silence.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question is for the Minister for Health. Minister, you said that our pharmacists are only not being paid if they do not show up to work. I have pharmacists contacting me saying that they are being docked 25% of their pay for taking protected industrial action, which can include wearing a T-shirt. They're still showing up to work to protect patients and are working for 2 hours every day for free. Can the Minister confirm that our hard-working pharmacists will not continue to be docked for engaging in protected industrial action?
Minister for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Johnston for the question. Madam Speaker, when it comes to wages, conditions, efficiency measures, Parliament House isn't the bargaining table, and all of these negotiations are being conducted by OCP at the moment as we speak, and they'll continue to have those negotiations with the relevant unions. NT Health assure me that there are plans in place, Madam Speaker, to deal with the industrial action, maintaining access to medicines and essential services to ensure continuity of patient care. Madam Speaker, while other sectors have struggled, health has been hit especially hard, and the Northern Territory, like the rest of Australia, is feeling those pressures. Madam Speaker, I'd like to just give a little bit of a history lesson when it comes to this particular issue, because it's very important to put this into context, what's really going on. Madam Speaker, in 2020, public servants were assured by Labor that they would be their best friend to get an election win, and then almost the first action of the Labor government winning the election was to announce a wage freeze. And and that was for the very people they claim to be friends with. So, Madam Speaker, CPI has certainly been running high, and the issues that the member for Johnston raises are all particularly important because it was the former Chief Minister, Michael Gunner, that told public servants at the time that either they had to accept the deal or face massive job cuts. And that's what was said at the time when it comes to a wages freeze, Madam Speaker. So the issues that we are here talking about
Take
today...
your seat, please, Minister. Member for Johnston, what is your point of order?
110 relevance. The Minister said that the pharmacists are only not being paid when they're not at work. Can he confirm that they will be paid when they show up to work?
I think he's got the question. It's up to you how you answer it, Minister.
Speaker, and like every public servant, servant is paid when they turn up to work. So this is nothing new, Madam Speaker, so I'm not sure where the member for Johnston is coming from. But, Madam Speaker, please. The situation we're in at the moment is under a wage freeze by the Labor government has pushed many public servants back when it comes to real wages growth here in the Northern Territory. So for the members to be coming in here today and placing the blame on the CLP, the blame squarely sits with Labor, who had a wage freeze in place for 2 years, preventing real wages growth for our public servants. So don't come in here bashing our public servants because it was Labor that failed the public servants for 2 years with a wage freeze, failed to put in place real wages growth, and the situation we find ourselves in today is all of the doing of Labor, and we're trying to fix it. Thank you.
Member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍𝙍, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Mining and Energy. Minister, one of our government's cornerstone commitments is to rebuild the territory economy, following 8 years of gross mismanagement by Labor. Our Rebuilding the Economy Strategy 2025 to 2028 focuses on both unlocking regional growth and connecting the territory. Our government knows that these objectives cannot be achieved without our mining sector, which is the largest contributor to territory-owned source revenue and one of the largest employer of regional and remote Territorians. This week is Anti-Resource Week, the premier mining event in the territory calendar, and I understand that you are speaking at the mining territory event. Could you please inform the Assembly as to the benefits of events such as the Resources Week and the mining sector as a whole to Territorians?
Minister for Mining and Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔𝙍𝙍 for his commitment to the Territory. In fact, Madam Speaker, the member for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙍𝙍 came out to South 32 and Groote Island last week for himself to see what happens out there in relation to mining and what they do and how committed they are to looking after land, looking after their people and looking after their community. So I applaud his efforts to making sure he understands how important mining is to the Northern Territory. Madam Speaker, as outlined in our government's maiden budget handed down in May, mining is the largest contributor to the NT gross state product at about 25%. Mining royalties contributed over $200 million to the Territory Treasury in 24-25 and plays a vital role in our economy, and making events like this, NT Resources Week, so crucial to the Northern Territory. Resources Week is our flagship mining and energy event, an opportunity to showcase our immense area and our tools and our minerals to the rest of the world and show that the explorers and investors that we are here. Madam Speaker, this year Resources Week has attracted over 805 delegates from across Australia and the world. That's a 15% increase from the year before. That shows, Madam Speaker, that there is a real interest in the Northern Territory and that this government is rebuilding our economy because these people are going to invest, these people are going to employ people in the Northern Territory, and these people are going to pay a royalty to the government and to landowners. And confidence in the NT mining sector is growing, and this investment shows that it's growing. I'm delighted to speak at Mining the Territory Conference to promote the great work of our sector in the Northern Territory and amongst Australia. Australia is one of the world's untapped mineral markets, with around 80% yet to be explored. And let me tell you, Madam Speaker, the Territory holds enormous potential. In 2024, $176 million is invested in exploration. But we must do more, Madam Speaker. exploration creates mines, and we need new mines in the Northern Territory. We need to bring in that revenue to the Territory and to native title holders. Madam Speaker, I echo the Chief Minister's comments, which she told here protesters and activists who challenge the value of mining to go away. We're not welcome here, Madam Speaker. We are here people who support. We don't want people who deny Territorians the economic opportunity that mining brings, whether it's through jobs, whether it's through royalties. Those people are not welcome here. What we want here, Madam Speaker, we want jobs, we want royalties, we want commitment to the Northern Territory, as the member for Casuarina has shown. The resource sector, and particularly the mining sector, has been and will continue to be the backbone of our economy, Madam Speaker, and I welcome Resources Week and all those who participate and all those investors, and I thank them for investing in the jobs and in the Northern Territory's future.
Leader of the Opposition, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Treasurer, at the recent election, the member for Blaine told residents that he would fix the ground issues at Maldon Oval and invest $150,000 for lights at Maldon Oval and $300,000 towards women's change rooms for the Palmerston Raiders. None of these commitments, Treasurer, have received funding in your budget. When will the people of Blaine receive these commitments, and when will you, Treasurer, deliver for these commitments?
Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, I thank the Leader of the Opposition for the question, the same as the member for Daly. And it's great to see them actually starting to take some interests in other electorates. And the member for Blaine is a huge advocate for his community. He's always on my case, sending me letters. We're dealing with issues for the people out in Blaine, and we're getting things done out there, Madam Speaker, something that the previous government failed to do, I can tell you. So the member for Blaine advocates very, very hard for his community, Madam Speaker, and I said my office, whether it's through the Treasury or through logistics and infrastructure, works very hard to support the member for Blaine. Now, the member for Blaine has made some commitments during the election, and of course, we will work through and we will honour those commitments, Madam Speaker. Now, what the opposition is saying is, when are we going to do it? Now, I'll say it again, Madam Speaker. There was that big black hole that the previous Labor government left us, this huge debt, this huge hole in our economy, which meant that you can't walk in and deliver everything that you want tomorrow. Even I'd love to be able to deliver, as I said, for the member for Karama. I'd love to be able to deliver everything for the member for Blaine next week or next month. But the reality is, Madam Speaker, due to the state of the budget left to us by the previous Labor government, it just can't be done. We have to stage these projects and this spending out over the years to make sure that we can deliver everything for our communities. But we will deliver it, Madam Speaker. I'm still dealing...
Silence, please.
I take the interjections and laughing from those opposite. It's like they didn't care about what they did to our economy. They're laughing about it. They're laughing for the fact that they increased debt by $8 billion in 8 years, Madam Speaker. $1 billion plus per annum. And they have the gall to stand in here. Why didn't you deliver this and why haven't you delivered that? Because I can tell you, Madam Speaker, for 20 of the last 24 years they are in government, and I can ask, Madam Speaker, of them, what did you deliver? What did you deliver for Territorians? You delivered debt. You delivered uncertainty.
Okay.
And you deliver failed pet projects for the Territory, Madam Speaker. That's what Labor did.
Treasurer, just pause. Everyone's just going to be quiet for 3 seconds, and then the Treasurer will continue in silence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. They're getting a bit fired up over there. I wonder why. Maybe because I was talking about the truth. Maybe I was talking about the legacy left to us by the previous government. Now, I'd love to deliver everything for everybody, Madam Speaker, but I can't. It's going to take a little bit of time. We'll certainly get there, Madam Speaker, on our election commitments and our promises within the electorates across the Northern Territory. But we're going to do it responsibly and we're going to spend it responsibly, but we will be delivering on those commitments, Madam Speaker.
Member for Wanguri, what is your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Health Minister. Minister, our CLP government committed 12 months ago to introducing a free meningococcal B immunisation program from 1 January 2025. ensuring that every eligible family can access this vital protection. I'm grateful that constituents in my electorate of Wangari, Sally and Ash Lawrence, have been tireless advocates for 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙼𝙔 vaccination after losing their beautiful daughter Skylar to this deadly infection. Our election commitment established the Universal Program for infants and Year 9 students, ongoing annual funding and a 2-year catch-up program for older students. Minister, can you tell me how this program is progressing and how it's benefiting young Territorians?
Minister for Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Wangari for this very important question. I also want to thank Ash and Sally as well, Skylar's parents, who have been absolutely strong advocates for this particular matter. And Madam Speaker, the short answer is we are delivering on our election commitment. That's what we're doing, and I'm delighted to share the news, Madam Speaker, that more than 8,000 eligible young Territorians have received the free meningococcal B vaccine since we launched the program on January 1 this year. Of the 8,178 Territorians vaccinated, 5,513 were infants aged between 6 weeks and 2 years, and 2,665 were adolescents aged between 14 and 19 years. In addition, 1,248 doses were administered to Aboriginal children under 12 months via the National Immunisation Program. There has been strong demand for the free vaccine since the program started on the 1st of January this year, and I encourage even more eligible families to take part. Madam Speaker, as I said, this initiative delivers on our election promise to give Territory families access to vital protection against meningococcal B, whilst also easing the cost of living pressures. Children are the greatest beneficiaries of vaccinations. They give families certainty and security, and I've been encouraging more families to access this protection for free. It was fantastic to see such a strong uptake of this important immunisation program, and recently, Madam Speaker, I visited the Darwin High School where I met with 2 Year 10 students, Olivia and Madison, who were having their first shot as part of a catch-up program offered to students in Years 10, 11 and 12. Madam Speaker, Year 9 students have already received the vaccine as part of their school immunisation schedule in terms 1 and 2. Previously, the meningococcal B vaccine was only free to Aboriginal infants via the NIP or those with specific medical conditions. Families were also paying around $130 to $180 per vaccine, with infants under 2 requiring 3 doses and adolescents needing 2 doses. Madam Speaker, expanding this free program to all young Territorians has been life-saving. In the past decade, the NT has recorded 16 cases of meningococcal B, including 4 tragic deaths. Survivors often face devastating long disabilities, with 1 in 4 impacted. Madam Speaker, our free vaccination program is a game changer. It helps Territory families avoid the unimaginable loss of a child or the long-term effects of this preventable disease. Madam Speaker, protecting and improving health care for all Territorians is what we're doing. Thank you. And Madam Speaker, before I sit down, Madam Speaker, I think the hour's up, and I ask that any further questions be placed on the written notice paper. Thank you.